welcome to the podcast on Smash USA. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. I am Manu, and today we're going to have a special guest from the Sportville.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Giovanna, and today we have a good conversation with Rob. Thiago, tell us more about our guest.
Good morning, everybody. Thiago here. As Manu and G has mentioned, we have a special guest today. It's Robert Foster. He's the founder and CEO of Shotmakers League. Shotmakers League is the video competition platform where you can challenge your friends, compete with the community, and make new friends. So we're going to learn a little bit more about his entrepreneurship journey and kind of what is the platform about. So Rob, welcome to our podcast.
Hey guys, nice to be here, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Rob. So for start, can you please share with us and with everybody about your journey, your personal journey, like find your purpose and starting your career?
Okay, so for me, Shotmakers League, it began. The funny thing is, it began as a kid. So as a young adult, I should say, I was probably in like my senior year of high school. I was working at a place that was famous in Atlanta for basketball. It was one of the United States first 24-hour basketball gyms. So it was about the size of a super Walmart. There was nothing but basketball courts in it. A place called Run and Shoot. And so my journey kind of started there as far as entrepreneurship as well. I watched a lot of coworkers who were trainers, who lived their life on their own schedule. They made money, doing things in basketball outside of being a player. So it kind of opened my eyes up to a lot of those things. But there was one very specific day that kind of clicked into what later became Shotmakers League. There was a very famous singer and a very famous producer that had come in. And normally when those types of people would come into the gym, we would curtain off the court so no one could, just random people couldn't just kind of interrupt their games. They could kind of have a private play. And I was the court monitor for the play that day. And so it was a hot and heavy game. They had all kind of, they were famous. So they had all kinds of people trying to get in the gym and watch them. And everybody, the word got out that they were there. And eventually at the end of the game, the two main people, I don't want to say one of their names. He's very infamous right now. But they were basically having a shootout. And in that shootout, they were putting money on the ground. They were betting. This was pre-Cash App, so there weren't any apps or anything like that. So they were genuinely putting like a lot of money on the ground, and before I know it, it was like $50,000 on both sides. So it was $100K total, and everybody. So there was probably about 45 people on that court standing. We were all standing around. We were all watching, and I just looked at the crowd, and everybody was glued. There was nobody that was distracted. Everybody was locked in on what was going on. And I was like, man, this has to be one of the most entertaining things I've ever seen. And I was like, I don't know what, I didn't know how to frame it then, but I told myself, I don't know what this is, but whatever this is, one day, somebody's going to do it. And then I said to myself, if somebody doesn't do it, I'm going to do it. And that was kind of the start. So, fast forward, me getting into entrepreneurship, I always valued personal freedom. So my first crack at kind of entrepreneurship, being self-employed, I became an independent contractor in telecommunications. And with that, I started realizing the freedom of travel and being able to get around the country and work in all types of cities. So I probably worked in about 46 states and about 200 plus cities. So I got to see all walks of America. I didn't travel abroad as much, but being here and actually seeing all the different pockets, all the different cultures, from the poorest of the poor to some of the richest of the rich. It broadened my horizons
Yeah.
and made me realize kind of the common thing for me. I ask a lot of questions, right? So I would, when I was in these wealthy people's homes, I would ask them, how did you get here? I was like, hey, what do you do? How did you get this? How did your life end up like this? And I found out really quickly that most people were happy to tell you. There were very few times where people didn't have maybe 30 minutes or hours worth of conversation for me. Yeah, they would gladly tell me, what led to their success. And for me, the commonality was they started. They had a lot of them had an idea and they started.
Mhm. You start
This
before you're ready, right? You need to start before
exactly.
you're ready.
Exactly. And I at that point in time I didn't know much about startups. I didn't know what that was, but um I just knew that it was something I was going to do. Fast forward a little later in life, more life experiences, more learning. Um, had a little success with a partner in a totally different field, ABA therapy, um, and that was successful. And I started to realize, like, okay, that basketball thing that I've been wanting to do, I think I can do this. So I set out on a journey. First, I wanted to find the world's best shooter. That was pretty much it. I wanted to find out who was the world's best shooter. There was so much talk about whether LeBron is the GOAT or whether Kobe's the GOAT or is it Michael Jordan or all these different variables of who's the best basketball player. But in the NBA, it's a team sport. So it's
Mhm.
hard to say who's really the best because there's so many factors when you're on the floor with, five
Yeah.
or nine other guys. So I did realize that, again, I had that core memory of that shootout. And it was like, well, you could find out who's the best at this. If it's a lot like tennis and a lot like golf in a way, where you could challenge people and you could kind of get to the bottom of who's the best pretty quickly. If
Mhm.
if you get enough people in it, you'll start
Yep.
to figure out who's number one, who's number two, and things are going to shift. So I ended up reaching out to again, because of the years of experience in telecom from cold calling and all kind of things like that, I reach out to a CEO who owned a tour-based basketball platform called Hoop It Up 3-on-3. It's a 3-on-3 traveling circuit that would go all around the country. And I actually played in it as a kid. So that was kind of the first frame of reference. I was like,
Mhm.
let me see if I can find somebody in the corporate office and see if I can get in touch with someone and tell them that I want to learn the business
Yep.
model and see if they're open to it. And so
Mm.
I'm really good at researching and finding people. So I found the CEO. I found his cell phone number and I called him and the crazy thing is he picked right up. And I spoke with him and told him how I had this vision and that I wanted to not necessarily be competition for his business model, but I wanted to use that same model, but for my competition,
Yep.
for my goal.
Yep.
And he was like, yeah, man, let's do it. He was like, I like your passion. I like your drive. I like the fact that you looked me up and found me and found my
Mhm.
phone number. He was like, that says a lot. So
It's like the
just
universe saying for you, yes, okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's
So
the
but
way.
but
okay.
Rob, you brought in a great point to my mind because the first thing is like your purpose, right? What was driving you from the beginning, and we all experience the kind of an entrepreneurship route is such a challenging route. If you don't have a deeper purpose, you're gonna
Yeah,
give up at some point. It has to be something that speaks deep to you or your personal experience that you want to kind of push that forward, even with the
yeah.
whole world against you. And then
Oh,
the
for
other
sure.
big belief that I do have, and it's part of what our kind of startup Gimbal kind of touch on that, is the fact that I do believe that entrepreneurs are the one that are most equipped to solve any problem in the world. because of some of it just described now. Like, and I have three characteristics that I think are really important in the kind of the best entrepreneurship teams or entrepreneurs, individuals that I see.
Yeah.
One is creativity, kind of think outside of the box and have solutions. Resilience is kind of key, and that purpose, I think, is kind of a fuel for that. And the other is resourcefulness, the capacity of when you see a problem, you figure out ways to solve it, because you need to get solution. There's no
action all the time.
Action. You can share all the ideas and have the best ideas in the world. If you cannot put into action and make them happen, nothing's going to happen. Your idea is going to be with you and it's going to be brilliant, but the world does never enjoy it and see it actually happen. So if you could speak a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, on this point, I think Giovanna have a good question, because we saw your Instagram, your social media, all the content that you put over there. So Giovanna was telling me about that.
Yeah, Rob, your project is amazing, and your purpose is amazing too. You can share with us a bit more about your audience. How did you manage your growth, your company, and most importantly, keep your audience engaged?
So for me, my audience, to be honest with you, in the beginning, I didn't know who they were. I thought I knew who my audience was. I thought that my audience were basketball players and people that want to be the best. What I kind of found out, especially after the pandemic, is that and it's actually starting to change now that we're kind of moving away from the pandemic. But what I found out coming out of the pandemic, when I did my first version of Shotmakers League, I found out that people just kind of wanted to be entertained. It wasn't so much that they wanted to compete. They wanted to entertain, or they wanted to. You had more growth in content creators. So basketball players themselves, a lot of them weren't even really that interested in playing basketball. It seemed like they were more interested in what they could do on TikTok, or what they could, what could go viral for them. And again, I think a lot of that was associated with the fact that the world was kind of reopening up. A lot of that has changed now, where now you have a whole lot more people outside. They're playing in parks again. They're playing in the gyms. The competition level has risen dramatically. I feel like the game is so skilled now, and it's not just in America; it's all over the world. And with tools like Shotmakers League, our audience actually extends out. But the common bridge is the love of basketball. And so I have an audience that comprises of people that just love to watch. I have an audience of coaches that want to see, they want to come up with challenges. They want to see people do challenges. There's an element of and then there's the players that are aspiring for something greater. And right now, what I'm finding out is that is kind of our main mission. Our main mission right now is to provide a platform where you can have opportunity. And so whether you're a guy who's played and you play pro, but your career's kind of fizzled out, well, here's an opportunity for you to make it to the big stage again, or make it to a big stage. Yeah, to be seen. Exposure is huge, or maybe you're some kid that your parents can't afford the new Nikes, but maybe you can win an opportunity through a challenge to win a pair of shoes. And that's how you get your new Nikes. We're looking at all of those things for our audience, and that's what's keeping them engaged, is the opportunity to connect with experiences, and also to connect with some of the people that they hold highly, whether it's a scout, whether it's a coach, whether it's a basketball influencer, or whether it's a professional player that normally they couldn't interact with, but now I can put a video in for your challenge, and you get to see that video, and maybe you repost it, or you get to critique it, and it's in a fine filter.
Awesome, awesome. And that's a great point you brought. And I remember us having conversations in the past about this with the potential of the social impact, right? And part of what
Yeah.
you're saying is like I think sports is a great learning for life. There's so many values that you learn just by practicing it. And we know that even if you're passionate about sports, very few people are going to make it to the professional level. Like it's
Oh
so
yeah.
competitive. I think it's the hardest thing to actually make it to any of the leagues and be a professional
Yeah.
athlete that you can have an income and survive with that. But what I think, and I would love to hear from you on that perspective, what you envision this platform as well is an opportunity for expanding that kind of funnel of people that
Yeah.
can make a living and can have recognition, have rewards through
Yeah.
sports by now kind of making an entertainment that is not confined to a specific league and rules, but challenge
Yeah.
and different things that the people. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your perspective on that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, you're spot on. I mean, the thing is, and I'm trying, like, right now, the way that I explain it is just that we're giving opportunity to the community, right? That's a very simple and broad way to say it. But like you're saying, the funnel right now to the largest opportunity is so small. But then you go outside of that, and then there are pro leagues that people can play in. But again, it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same thing. Guys kind of funnel in, funnel out, because they're not the highest leagues, uh, and they're all basically based in the same type of game. Uh, the money isn't quite there unless you play in certain leagues around the world. If you can crack into there, and that's pretty good. But still, the opportunity as a whole is still really small. And what social media has created is a place where people can still monetize their talent. And so we want to be able to provide them for a place to monetize their talent competitively. And that's kind of the missing piece between social media and actual, playing the game. It's the competitive side. And so that's where we're coming in at, and we see that competitive social media is going to grow. It's going to take off, and it's already starting to take off. It started out like most competitions do. Most sports start out as exhibitions. They start out friendly, and a lot of challenges right now, right? They're just friendly challenges that people take and they do on social media, on TikTok. But they're going to get more competitive as time goes on. And there are going to be people like us that organize these things, that are going to organize them and house them and be platforms and places where you can come and get a challenge and get the best challenges and get the best people who are doing them. And that's where we see the formation of a space where opportunity is abound, where there's more opportunity for all players all over the world and different walks. Because if you're very skilled at something, then you have an opportunity to showcase that to everyone, and there's no bias, there's no barriers to it. You just show up with your skills, and your skills do the work for you.
And Rob, for the kids, like, have you working with the kids, like the kids that they dream to be part of that, like they dream to be like a professional, and how you work with the kids, like you have any project like a social impact in your career or even inside your project right now? What's the plan?
Oh yes. So right now, kids as young as 13 can participate on the platform. So that's a part of our plan is to bring this awareness to the kids that this is something that you can do. There's a growing psychological thing that's happening with kids in sports, especially in America right now, where they're burnt out before they get to high school. A lot of kids are burnt out on sports, and they don't want to play. Like, they're losing the interest. That's why a lot of them are migrating to esports. A lot of them are also migrating to just being content creators and influencers. You got a whole different market now. where you got streamers and things like that. These things that didn't exist truly 10 years ago. They're taking off, and a lot of kids grow up now aspiring to be those things. And they may still love, sports, but they're not as driven to be professionals.
Yeah.
And so we think that what we can do is give them a way to kind of meld both worlds.
Mhm.
and still be able to feel like they're highlighted and still be able to feel like they're showcased, and then be able to host their own challenges. They get to take control. I feel like a lot of times that's also part of the burnout, right? Now more than ever, we want to be entrepreneurs. We want to be in control of our destiny. So a lot of people don't like the concept of trying out and being cut or not being selected, or a lot of people want to feel like they're in control. So our platform, that's what we do. We give you control. You can create your own league within the platform. It isn't just about shot makers.
Mhm.
Like,
Awesome.
yeah.
I remember in Brazil, there is a time when the rappers, they challenge each other, like singing, and then there was like a time then they can be seen as a rappers, like a challenge each other, and they get famous later. So when you were telling us about your project, I was remember that, because maybe it should be like that, right? Maybe somebody can be inside your platform, and then they're really good doing that. They like that, they get famous, and they can be seen, like they can have a career inside this.
Oh yeah.
So I was remember that.
That's
go on.
That's what we're working on. We're working on, because to create that, you have to have two things happen, right? You have to have the talented people, and then you have to have the audience that has the power to make that talent famous, right? So, but it's no, it's kind of the chicken and the egg, which one do you grab first? Do I grab the talent, or do I grab the people? Do I grab the people with the power, with the power to make them famous? So we're doing a little bit of both. We're grabbing talent, and we're building relationships, building connections. Tiago knows this well. He's probably heard me say it a million times. I like to know people before I need them. So I'm very, very focused, but I like to build relationships in a real way. So I try my best to not just be strategic with relationships. I don't see people as milestones. I see people as people, because there's power in people. Where I met you today has nothing to do with where you're going to be tomorrow, because I know there's a lot of people that knew me, 10 years ago, and I wasn't this person. I was a totally different person. I was in a different position, and if they were to run into me now and they wanted to get into tech or wanted to get into startups, I've actually had a bunch of people that have run into me now that have had those aspirations, and I've been able to help them, and I've been willing to help them because we had a relationship. So I've come across the same thing. You build relationships with people that work in brands, and you don't so a lot of people say, oh, I just want to know the CEO, or, oh, I just want to meet the chief marketing officer. Well, I'm different. I want to meet, if I'm trying to connect with a VC firm and I run into an analyst, I'm going to connect with the analyst. Like, I'm not, if they have an intern that works for a big sports organization, I'm going to connect with the intern, because those people, they'll be your advocates, especially,
and that's
again,
the
if you
power
connect.
of the networking, right? Like it's what you have to offer the first time, and really, really understand that somebody that's in front of you, they have their value. Like you can connect with them because you want to know about them. It's because it's personal. You care about the other. That's the difference.
It's a genuine connections, a genuine conversation. And the other thing that's like, I think it's very smart, especially in the entrepreneurship route, but I think just in life in general, in your career, it's a long-term game. There's not like you're not running a sprint, you're running a marathon. So you never
Yeah.
know. Making those connections, as you said, you never know what they're gonna be in 10 years, and you never know what you're gonna need in 5 to 10 years. So not that you're doing already with that intention, but you are actually connecting with a human being, just genuinely connecting and understanding that story. But it's a great strategy for the long run, because you need everybody. You need the village with
Oh
you.
yeah. Yeah, the power's in the people, man. That's in everything. You can't have a podcast if nobody's listening. You can't have a successful basketball league if nobody's in the stands watching. And you don't have a voice if there's no one to hear it. So you gotta connect with people. You gotta resonate with them.
Mhm.
And again, you just never know. You just never know who you're talking to. You know, you're talking
Yep.
to a guy, and he may be a junior analyst, or he may be an intern, and then 2 years later, he's heading the biggest media company, in the world or in the region, and that the way that you handle that relationship could dictate whether they want to do business with you or even give you a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rob, I have one question. If
Mhm.
you could imagine your project in 10 years, what would be the goals you would be like to have achieved?
10 years from now, shot makers league will have live competitions all over the world. We will have users that compete virtually to enter into our live events. FIBA will be a partner of Shot Makers League, and shot making will become a FIBA sanctioned sport. Shot making will have crowned its maybe fourth or fifth uh, number one player, number one shot maker, male and female globally. 10 years from now, yeah, 10 years from now, we'll have a few, maybe I'll say 500,000 daily active users. And there will be at least a hundred, at least 50 to 100,000 creators on the platform making content, having their own leagues on a regular basis.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that you have such a clear view with numbers and metrics behind a 10-year plan. That's amazing. But then we want to bring also to kind of the current present time,
Mhm.
because well, I love the concept. We talked about that before, and we want to be part of it. I'm not great at basketball. Being from Brazil, I'm more like a soccer
Yeah.
player, but I like challenge and competition.
I
So
love basketball.
you love
I
basketball? So for
Oh, okay.
anybody, and then it's
Man,
exciting.
Manuela, we gotta get Manuela to take a challenge.
Oh
Oh,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
love.
She needs to join. So how can we join? How can we be part of it? I heard congratulations. You just launched the platform recently. So I would love to hear a little
Yes.
bit more. And how can we be part of it?
So right now, to be part of it, you just go to www.shotmakersleague.com, create a profile, uh, pay attention to our feed page. We post challenges pretty much weekly. We started like 8 weeks ago, and what we've done right now, we have special guests that come on to my vlog, and on our vlog, we do interviews. We interview those people that are around in sports. We had some famous basketball players. We've had even a baseball player. We've had some coaches and scouts and content creators. Some famous some famous content creators around basketball.
Mm-hmm.
We've had the self-proclaimed world's greatest celebrity basketball game player, which I can't argue with his title because he's played in some of the best celebrity basketball games, and he's carved out a really cool niche for himself. Man, he's very very interesting guy, man, and kind of proves the power of what I'm saying. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can create your own lane in this world through things that you love, and he's a prime example of it. And that's what we want, those types of people on our platform. But right now, there are challenges that are live. You just again go to www.shotmakersleague.com, create a profile, uh, watch the feed page, and you'll see challenges that you can enter. The ones that have prizes, they'll be notated on there. You'll know that there's a prize. But a lot of times, man, the prize isn't in winning the money. the prize is in the exposure. You know, if you enter one of these challenges and it's a guy like Confusion has, I want to say, around 250,000 followers on Instagram. So if you win his challenge and he reposts you, what does that do for you? Right. So I think sometimes that's the message that I'm trying to get a lot of the younger users to understand. Like, hey, take these opportunities now while you can. You know, you get an opportunity to interact with some of these people. Take it.
Awesome.
Sounds like a plan. It's an amazing project. I wish all the best, and I want to be part of. So we're gonna tag everything, like all the pages, like you can see, you can listen to us right now, and you can tag the page, like see everything that he's promoting. And today was amazing for us. Listen about your project, about your story. I want to be part of that, and I also share with our followers everything about. And Thiago, you have something to say?
No, just saying that we're going to post as well. So anybody that is following this, we're going to have that link to go to the platform. I'm going to join myself. As you mentioned, like I played sports not professionally, but I love the competition. I think just bragging rights and just the ego that you can do and win is already a motivator. Like it changes. Once you're competing for something, like the mood and the dynamic always changes in sports. And I can imagine this is a great concept. I love the concept. I love the social impact that you can have. And congratulations again for all the things you're doing, and great luck in this process. We definitely we want to be part of the village that is with you in this process.
Hey, Shot Makers League and on Smash. Let's do it.
That's amazing conversation. I love it.
So thank you, Rob. See you soon in Atlanta Tech Village. We are here. Rob also works in Atlanta Tech Village in Atlanta.
He's coming here later today.
Yeah,
I'll be here today. Yeah, I'll see you today.
Thank you, everybody. See you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.